Okay, so just to recap and excuse the terrible writing. So what happens is we start to twitch. Generally, this is the pattern of what people do when they first start some twitching. They've probably, in my experience, out of everybody I've spoken to, have had a previous history of health anxiety, depression, and they've had this for a number of years. So my theory is that there's a chronic overload of stress and the body just goes, I can't take it anymore. And that's something that my old neurologist said to me that he felt. So we tend to start twitching. Sorry, it's a bit confusing, but we Google our twitching, and then of course if you type in twitching, of course you're going to find ALS. Now I can't stress enough how late on, generally in the process of ALS, it's a disease of weakness, not twitching, and I think this is the area that we'll get confused in. Twitching is perfectly normal. It's when generally people go to their doctor and say, I can't pick up a cup, or I can't pick up a something, can't lift a book over my head, or I'm really struggling, or I've noticed one of my muscles has been shrinking. The twitching generally comes a lot later. So it's really important to understand that ALS is a disease of weakness, not twitching, and we need to make that separation. We struggle with that, and that's understandable. So our anxiety goes into overdrive. Then we go, of course, that makes our twitching worse because we're like wondering what it is. Often, like me in the early stages, the twitching just spread all over. We go to our GP or doctor, physician, whoever. In between that, we tend to research a lot more in between appointments. That's certainly what I did, and I find the vast majority of people I speak to do that. We join BFS groups and compare symptoms. This is a really, really, really common trait, and this creates a very vicious circle. And as you can see, we start twitching, so we Google, we panic about ALS, we compare symptoms with other people, which provides us with a little bit of relief temporarily, but obviously, unfortunately, most people here suffer from a health anxiety that is very, very difficult to treat. Rather than some intervention with some medication or some therapy, we tend to keep going, and the more the circle goes round, the more it generates a lot of friction and makes us even more scared. So the GP sends you to a neurologist, which they can do in abundance of caution. Obviously, these are traits like self-examination, more anxiety. So what happens is, I call it the emotional roller coaster. So we have this anxiety and we have this fear of ALS. So what happens is, up to the appointment and coming up to the appointment, everything goes nuts. We just get freaked out, and then we get this all clear, and then what I find through experiences, people I speak to, the doubt starts to creep in, and then they make another appointment, and then again we have this emotional roller coaster where they get the all clear and then they go down again. So this is my very basic guide to what happens with people. Now, in my next video, what I'm going to do, which will be on my Patreon page, is how and what I do and how I recommend to people that they overcome these negative behaviours and how they make themselves feel better. And it is not an overnight process, but I hope that helped, guys.